So what's behind them? Early speculation ran wild.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 unsolved mysterious natural disasters and events.
If only dash cams had been prevalent back in 1908, this would have been a whole lot easier to figure out.
For this list, we're looking at some of the strangest mysteries surrounding natural disasters on Earth and further afield. Let us know in the comments which one you think is the most bizarre. Number 10. Year of Darkness. The most famous year without a summer happened in 1816 after the eruption of Mount Tambora, but it wasn't the first.
The eruption triggered global climate change. Rain and cold caused dramatic crop failures in the northern hemisphere, and famine stalked large parts of Europe.
In 536 AD, multiple volcanic eruptions led to what some historians have dubbed the undoubted worst year to be alive.
Crops failed for years. Drought and famine gripped the land. Millions died.
At least, we think it was volcanic eruptions. We actually don't know for sure what caused the Year of Darkness in the 6th century because records are very thin on the ground. And while volcanoes seems to be the most sensible option, there are additional theories, including that the devastating dust was the result of a comet strike. All we know for sure is that Earth became much colder and that there were widespread famines. Number 9. Siberian sinkholes. In recent years, various sinkholes have appeared out in the wilderness of Siberia. Over a dozen have emerged since 2013, and many scientists have struggled to pinpoint the cause.
Over 7,000 of them that have been identified in Siberia, and over 400 of them are looked at as being in imminent danger of eruption. Good news, though, none of them are near a city or a town.
It wasn't until 2020 that scientists thought they'd unraveled the mystery of the sinkholes. They're caused when methane begins to fill an underground space and inevitably explodes, leaving vast craters.
Yes, it's very serious, and if such craters will take place in the industrial region, it could be quite serious disaster.
But we still don't know where this methane is coming from or why the sinkholes have only just started to appear. It's widely speculated that it has to do with climate change melting Siberia's permafrost, but we still have plenty to learn about the sinkholes and their creation.
And there are fears in this region that fast erosion like this could destroy entire cities very soon.
Number 8. The Sichuan earthquake.
The shake wrecked 21 million buildings. Over 5 million collapsed, including over 6,000 schools.
Ever since construction began in the 1990s, the Three Gorges Dam in Hubei, China has been controversial. Though it generates immense power and reduces flood risk along the Yangtze, it's caused a lot of ecological damage. But could it cause an earthquake? Some believe so. And after the devastating Great Sichuan earthquake in 2008, many blamed the dam for causing seismic disturbances that triggered the quake, in which almost 90,000 people lost their lives.
The damage just must have been devastating. I really can't see how anyone could have survived this.
Though this began as a conspiracy theory, the following year some scientific evidence emerged saying that the weight of the water in the reservoir might be the earthquake's cause. The entire story remains highly contentious, and the truth is unclear.
Everything they have to live for is now buried in the rubble. This town feels like it's lost its future.
Number 7. What happened to Venus? At the dawn of the space age, attention was on Venus as the most viable alien world for humans to visit. However, the Soviets quickly realized after sending various Venera probes to the planet that Venus is extremely hostile to human life.
In fact, most probes that NASA and the Soviets sent to the surface of Venus imploded in midair. We learned our lesson, and a few reinforced probes did manage to touch down and send images of the Venusian surface, but even those only lasted about 2 hours before, you know.
Its atmosphere is so full of CO2 that its pressure is 90 times greater than Earth's. Its clouds are made of sulfuric acid, and its average surface temperature is almost 900 degrees Fahrenheit.
The atmosphere is so thick that it creates a surface pressure similar to what it would be about half a mile deep in the Earth's oceans. This pressure is heavy enough that a human standing on Venus's surface would be crushed.
But it wasn't always this way. At some point, Venus was most likely habitable just like Earth, but something happened that triggered a runaway greenhouse gas effect, filling the atmosphere with so much carbon dioxide that life cannot exist.
This traps so much heat that the surface of Venus reaches a temperature hot enough to melt lead and with a pressure that would crush most submarines. That atmosphere also sports a permanent thick layer of sulfuric acid clouds.
Volcanoes seem to be likely culprits, but we don't know for sure. Number 6. 8th century gamma ray. Gamma rays are the most energetic phenomenon in the galaxy, created by colliding stars and easily able to wipe out Earth if one erupted close enough.
And the only thing that can generate gamma rays are incredibly violent events, incredibly energetic events, and we're talking stars exploding and neutron stars with really strong magnetic fields and really exotic and strange objects like that.
Shockingly, in 2013, scientists uncovered evidence that Earth was struck by a gamma ray burst at some point in the 8th century. By studying Japanese cedar tree rings dated to the year 775, scientists found traces of the isotope carbon-14. And a gamma ray is one of the few explanations for how this rare isotope got there. It's not likely to come from a solar flare or a closer supernova, but we have little else to go on since there are no contemporary reports of radiation sickness or of seeing a supernova in the sky.
The key insight here is that we're not talking about something that's exploding like a sphere and spreading its energy out in all directions. A gamma ray burst is beamed, so it's taking all of its energy but pointing it right at us and firing it directly towards us. That's why it's so powerful.
Number 5. The Year of the Locust. In order to free the ancient Israelites from Egypt, it's said that God sent 10 plagues to ravage the land. The 8th of these plagues was locusts, which were bidden to devour everything in sight. But if you've ever wondered what a plague of locusts would really be like, look no further than the year 1874, when for some reason the Rocky Mountain locust left the mountains and ravaged the Great Plains. There were estimated to be about 12 trillion locusts in the swarm.
An adult locust eats its entire body weight every day, and a whole swarm can consume literally hundreds of tons of vegetation.
Various states put bounties out on the locusts or made it mandatory for everybody to kill as many as possible. By the 20th century, the Rocky Mountain locust was extinct in one of the most bizarre events in American history. Number 4. New Madrid earthquake. For 3 months between December 1811 and February 1812, the city of New Madrid in Missouri and the surrounding area was ravaged by multiple powerful earthquakes. The incident is most famous for supposedly making the Mississippi River run backward. What actually happened was that the ground lifted up so much due to the quake that it looked as if the river had temporarily changed direction. What remains unclear, however, is the precise mechanism that caused the quake. It's part of the Madrid seismic zone, but little is known about the fault system, including how likely similar earthquakes are in the future.
And let's hope that we don't have any big earthquakes for a long, long time, because they will liquefy again and you'll be on quicksand.
Number 3. The Carrington Event. A solar flare may not have caused radiation in the 8th century gamma ray mystery, but it definitely created radiation in the 19th century. The Carrington Event was a huge geomagnetic storm that occurred in September 1859, causing blackouts and disrupting telegrams. Luckily, as this was the 1850s, we didn't rely on electrical infrastructure like we do today, so the damage wasn't too bad, though it remains the largest storm of this type that we've ever seen. It's mysterious because there are still lots of things we want to learn, both about this event and about solar flares more generally.
Solar flares erupt outwards into space at up to 4.5 million miles an hour, releasing massive amounts of energy.
Despite being witnessed worldwide, the Carrington Event remains somewhat of an enigma, as do the potentially deadly effects of future storms. Number 2. The Tunguska Event. If a meteorite explodes in the air and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, yes, because that's what happened in Siberia in 1908. A vast explosion erupted over a Russian forest, witnessed by a handful of people, and devastated an enormous area.
Millions of pine trees, larches and birches are destroyed by the pressure wave and the fires. A shockwave circles the world, leaving its mark on seismographs everywhere. but no one can understand where it has come from.
With an estimated yield of 10 megatons and perhaps much higher, it was significantly more powerful than either of the atomic bombs deployed on Japan.
Shockwaves rippled across Europe. The night sky was illuminated for weeks after, and people were able to read their newspapers in the middle of the night from London to Asia.
The Tunguska Event's big mystery, however, is that there was no crater. If it was an asteroid, it must have exploded in midair before striking Earth.
Researchers studied microscopic fragments of decayed vegetation dating back to the time of the event and discovered mineral combinations perfectly consistent with other meteorite impact sites, like the 50,000-year-old meteor crater in Arizona.
But to this day, not everybody accepts the asteroid story, with some blaming a natural gas explosion or even a near miss with a world-destroying comet.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Tsunami Ghosts. Almost 20,000 people died following the devastating Tohoku earthquake and tsunami in Japan in 2011.
The quake was the strongest Japan had seen for 1,000 years, even bigger than the Great Kanto earthquake in 1923. It was so powerful that Japan's coastline moved 8 feet to the east and sank 3 feet down.
The tsunami itself was not mysterious. While tragic, we understand how it happened. What we don't understand is why, in the wake of the tsunami, ghost sightings in affected areas drastically increased. Many people reported being visited by the restless spirits of those lost to the tsunami, with some people even becoming possessed by aggressive forces from beyond the grave.
Locals report sightings of ghostly figures in areas where now there is only rubble, and taxi drivers say they often avoid the worst-hit areas for fear of picking up a phantom passenger.
It's highly likely that the sightings were the result of collective trauma and perhaps survivor's guilt, but many believe that the sightings are true evidence of the paranormal.
One characteristic of this disaster is that many of the victims have yet to be found. This means that survivors have no sense of closure, and no tangible proof can help them mourn. This affects their state of mind.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.